Xian, China, Tang Dynasty, 9th and 10th century. Modern-day Xian. Still one of the capitals of the Shaanxi province, it is one of the oldest cities within China and is one of the 4 surviving great capitals within China. Being so old, it has vast history and was a cultural hotspot throughout early Chinese development. Here I have a modern-day picture of Xian. Prior to Xian formation, Xian has seen several dynasties unify the people of China and has been a focal point for most of its development. Prior to the development of the capital, the Qin Dynasty was located very close to where the current capital is. The Qin Dynasty is famous for the terracotta soldier statues being buried with the Qin Dynasty family in a tomb outside of Xian. Here I have shown some of the terracotta soldiers found in the tomb. Formation of Chang'an. Following the success of the Qin Dynasty, wars broke out in the city and resulted in the destruction and looting of most of the city. After some time of the city being in rubble, the Han Dynasty constructed a new city named Chang'an. This city established missions to Outer Asia territories and later on Rome, and laid the groundwork for trade routes. As the Han Dynasty grew, they expanded their territory and large amounts of architecture was constructed in the expanding regions. More wars then broke out and destruction occurred in the region again, and left the city yet again in ruin. Chang'an Revitalization Period. Following the fall of the Han Dynasty, a religious movement was taking place. Buddhists found Xian to be a good place to teach and practice, and thus the city became a religious center for Buddhist monks. The Sui Dynasty then moved the capital of the city south and is located where current-day Xian can be found. Cultural innovation in Chang'an. With Chang'an developing more, this attracted more skilled travelers and merchants to the region, and resulted in an expansion in the variety of goods seen. After the Sui Dynasty, we see the rise of a new dynasty known as the Tang Dynasty. This dynasty ruled over around 1 million citizens, and Chang'an was now bustling with markets and tailors. The Tang Dynasty played a large role in the cultural developments and changed the stylistic art and fashion during this time. The Tang Dynasty supported the cultural diversity of the city, and we continued to see the spreading of Buddhism and Taoism throughout the region. The Tang Dynasty. For a large portion of early Chinese development and growth, it would remain under the rule of the Tang Dynasty. During the Tang Dynasty, we can see most of the cultural development within China. The dynasty was a formation of the previous Sui Dynasty in a conjunction of the Li Dynasty. This allowed for the families to unify, and northern and southern dynasties paved the way for the Tang Dynasty's success within the region. 9th and 10th century Xian. This era of peace and religious tolerance did not last long, however. Later on in the region, we can see the unrest of citizens and disorder and looting struck the region once again. This lasted throughout the remainder of the Tang Dynasty's rule. As civil unrest increased, the Tang Dynasty lost more and more support and subsequently lost power until ultimately the capital weakened and the Tang Empire fell. The city was still a notorious trade route, not only for Asia but also other merchants and traders from neighboring and distant lands. The Silk Road. The infamous trade route known as the Silk Road was the accumulation of merchant trade routes along with the early missions from the Han Dynasty, as well as the vast amounts of religious pilgrimages throughout the Tang Dynasty. The Silk Road survived even after the destruction of Chang'an and was a cultural trade port for most of the region. It popularized rare resources trade in the region and made it so cultures could utilize resources not found within their geographical regions. Here is an example of some items traded on the Silk Road.